with the offseason slowing down, and it's looking less likely that we're going to be able to pull off that next move to bring in another solidified starter, such as Kyle Kuzma or Lauri Markkanen, I do believe it is in McNair's best interest to explore some different trade opportunities just to try to round out the roster a little bit more and just add to our overall bench depth going into next season. Now, I do believe I have a trade in mind that could benefit both teams involved. But before I get into today's topic, I'd like to welcome you back to the channel, Kings Digest, where we're showcasing all of the upcoming Sacramento Kings news. So make sure you hit the bell up top so you won't miss any future videos and subscribe to the channel. Now, getting back into what I believe McNair should definitely look into, and that is move Huerter for a 3-and-D wing. Now, I love Kevin Huerter. I'm a big fan of his game. And I do believe that last season wasn't the best representation of the player that he is and the player that he is capable of being. But I do think McNair should definitely explore some, trade opportunities surrounding Kevin Huerter and try to package him for someone who can perform just as well offensively, but most importantly, someone who can make a massive impact on the defensive end, as that is one of the major holes in our roster. I mean, we're going to be relying heavily next season on Keon Ellis if he can play the defense he played on Curry in the play-in tournament, on Keegan Murray's development, if he can stay being the consistent defender that he is and maybe take that next leap. And if Devin Carter can come back and fully heal from his shoulder injury and just be the defensive menace that he was at Providence, that is what we are heavily relying on going into next season, as they are our main perimeter defenders. But if we can maybe package Kevin Huerter, who hasn't had the best season last season, and while I do believe he can definitely come back and play to his full potential, play like he did a couple of seasons ago, which we all know he's capable of doing, but I think just making a move for someone who can, if we sacrifice a little bit of offense to get more defense, that's not a bad decision at all, since we already have tons of offensive firepower, and just bringing in DeMar DeRozan just adds to that, and it just hurts us a little bit more defensively, honestly, because DeRozan, he's a fantastic player, but he's just not the best on-ball defender, and he's getting older now, and his lateral quickness and agility isn't what it used to be, so he's probably not going to, surprise us defensively or anything. He's just there to do his job, and that's get to his spot on the court and get us buckets. But if we get someone that can knock down a three or two and just play solid perimeter defense, that would be amazing. And that's where we get into maybe looking into trading Kevin Huerter and probably a 26, second round pick to get Cameron Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. The 6'8 swingman averaged 13.5 points last season. He almost averages a steal a game, and he shot 39% from behind the arc, which is phenomenal. And I mean, it's clearly a bit of an upgrade from Kevin Huerter's last season, as he shot 36% from behind the arc. So I just think this would be a no-brainer, just based off the facts alone, that if we get rid of Huerter and bring in Cameron Johnson, we get a player that can perform offensively just as well. He's someone that can come in and make an immediate impact. He's not in the shooting slump, and he will make more of an impact defensively, as he is one of the best, closeout players in the league. Like, he's phenomenal at closing out, and he may not shock you with his defensive stats by any means, but he is amazing at altering shots and just intimidating defenders, which is someone that we definitely need on our roster. And then clearly this man can knock down the triple when you need him to, and that is just someone that we desperately need on our roster. I feel like his would be the best move and just make a really positive impact on our roster and just help us win a couple extra more games against a really stacked Western Conference. And I mean, there is a different trade, projected trade I was thinking of, and that's if we were to maybe go towards Dorian Finney-Smith instead of Cameron Johnson. And I feel like the Brooklyn Nets would be happy with getting rid of Dorian Finney-Smith, as he is a little bit older and he isn't as good offensively as Cameron Johnson is. But, I mean, just going at his stats, he still put up 8.5 points last season, and he almost averaged a steal a game, similar to Cameron Johnson's stats. But he still managed to shoot 35% from behind the arc, which is a little bit of a dip in the offense, but he is a more physical defender than Cameron Johnson is. He's a bit older, he's a bit more experienced. He knows how to intimidate defenses, how to perfectly alter shots without, with getting minimal fouls. This guy is a physical defender, someone who can just bring in a solid defensive mentality, be a mentor, especially for young players on a roster such as Keegan Murray, and for Devin Carter when he comes back. Just having a vet like Dorian Finney-Smith on our roster, I believe, could make a tremendous impact. And he is, about on par with Cameron Johnson, but I believe Dorian Finney-Smith could potentially be a bit of a better fit for our roster, just on the fact alone that he is a bit of a better rim protector than Cameron Johnson is. Now, I know that's not their game or what they're really meant to be doing on the defensive end of the floor. They're mainly just there to guard the perimeter and take away passing lanes and shot opportunities. But having a bit of extra rim protection could benefit us greatly, as Sabonis isn't the best interior defender by any means. And I mean, we lack big men on our roster, period. And the centers that we do have on our roster aren't the most physical interior defenders. So having somebody that could come in, play their perimeter defense, and I mean, if they get beat off the dribble, can help recover and help protect the rim with Sabonis, that would be the best case scenario. And I mean, Cameron Johnson, he may be a bit more agile, a bit quicker than Dorian Finney-Smith. He can close out on the perimeter better, but he isn't as good of a shot blocker as Dorian Finney-Smith is. So I just think maybe if we went with, Dorian Finney-Smith instead of Johnson, it would be an interesting fit, as we would have, someone who can help protect the rim, a secondary rim protector, just to help out Sabonis in the paint, while someone who can also knock down his threes when he needs to be, may not be at the highest rate compared to even Kevin Huerter last season or Cameron Johnson, what he would do for us, but I feel like he would just be a better fit defensively. And especially when, our young players come back, when Keegan Murray comes back from the Olympics and, Devin Carter recovers from his injury, and having someone like Finney-Smith to look up to mentor them, just to, help them get their physicality on defense, that would be, in Sacramento Kings' best interest. And I think McNair should definitely explore this trade opportunity, as I believe it could definitely, have some positive impacts for our future and for next season. Now, that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments if you think this would be a great trade to pursue, and let me know the pros and cons and what you think of this potential trade. Now, make sure you hit the bell so you won't miss any upcoming Sacramento Kings news, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.